Both of these are just children, and normally people aren't peaking until into their teens at least. So does that mean that the new meta is that these guys are going to start getting old soon and new 8 and 11-year-olds are going to take their place, or are they just getting into their prime? And we don't really know. We're just guessing. So
hello everyone, welcome to Plus 3. Happy Thanksgiving, happy holidays to all celebrating. I'm Matt Rosman, joined by John Epley, and subbing in for the absent Manu Singhal, we have Michael Rosenkrantz. John, Michael, how are you guys doing?
Enjoying the holiday, man. It's been nice to, I think the whole world slows down a little bit and starts to just enjoy life. So I've been enjoying taking part in that.
Absolutely. Holiday's been going good, but let me just get this off my chest and say this has been one of the worst sporting weekends for the state of Michigan imaginable. You have the Lions losing to the Packers 31-24 on Thanksgiving. Then you have Frank Ragnow failing his physical this morning and not being able to return to the Lions again. Red Wings have lost 3 straight, possibly 4 tonight to the Bruins. Pistons have lost 2 straight. Hopefully not 3 in a row tonight against the Miami Heat. Michigan lost to Ohio State 27-9. My Central Michigan Chippewas lost 21-3 on Senior Day, and Michigan State could potentially lose to Maryland tonight at Ford Field, which would see the end of Jonathan Smith.
Well, go.
So yeah, that's how my weekend's going right now. All right, but get my daubers up. We're talking about cubing. Let's go.
Dude, the bright spot, we have 3 Michigan cubers right here that are doing good things. So we are the one shining bright spot.
We're on the uprise, man. Let's put it that way. We're on the uprise.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, hey, listen, speaking of cubing, since this is a cubing podcast after all, let's talk about Xuanyi. Xuanyi's been on an absolute heater recently, culminating in a 415 PR average just recently. John, I want to start with you. A lot of talk in the cubing world right now. Is Xuanyi a real problem for Yiheng? And if so, how much of a problem?
We're used to dominant cubers, right? Like Felix was dominant until Max was dominant, and it's pretty easy for us to remember, not remember the transition period, right? Here, I don't think there's going to be a transition period. I think these guys are going to be battling at it for a while. I mean, Worlds came down to Yiheng's last solve, so it wasn't like he just dominated. It was between those two. Something to note, though, is Xuanyi is fully specialized in 3x3, so all of his practice and focus will go into that one event, where Yiheng's going to spread that across 2, 3, 4, 5, OH, and I think he has a couple more events on his profile. Xuanyi's pushing deeper into ZB, ZBLS, so his recognition is going to be improving, which I think is why his averages have been dropping so much recently. He's posted a wave of new personal bests lately that are really confidence inspiring, but Yiheng has also had a few sub-world record BPAs, and of course his average, his personal record is the world record, so anything with the sub-world record BPA would be his personal record. So Yiheng has been threatening for that as well too, but I feel the pressure is shifting. He's now chasing and Yiheng's defending, and I think Yiheng sliding in 2x2 maybe kind of indicates the fact that he feels that pressure and he's trying to defend his territory. So I think he's a real problem, and I'm excited to see the battle.
Yeah, John, I mean, took the words right out of my mouth. He is a real problem. Look, his past 8 averages in his competitions have all been below 5 seconds. Most of them have even below 4.5 seconds. So, I mean, Xuanyi is on an unbelievable tear right now when it comes to just being able to improve on such a big standpoint. And let's not forget, in Worlds, I think it was Xuanyi's first time going against Yiheng exactly in the United States against head-to-head against one another. And Xuanyi came down to the wire, came down to the last solve. So Xuanyi is right there in the thick of it. And it's not going to take him too much longer before we could potentially see him overtake Yiheng Wang in more of these competitions. And who knows? I mean, the talks between the two of them in terms of breaking the sub-3 barrier. So in terms of either one of them doing it, both of them could do it. who's going to be the one to persevere. And because Xuanyi specializes in 3x3, I think he's going to be the one to do it.
I think if you asked me this question pre-Worlds, not withstanding anything that happened there, if we didn't have Worlds to look back on, I would agree with you guys. But I don't think Xuanyi is going to be the one to be a problem for Yiheng. Do I think that they're going to have a lot of competition? Absolutely. They're the two best cubers in the world. But I think the way that Yiheng has been able to persevere and execute consistently at a super high level, even against Xuanyi's, incredible ZB knowledge, like even as that gets better, it's an eye test thing. I know that the numbers are eventually going to start favoring Xuanyi. Logically, that's the way to go. But when I see Yiheng compete, when I see him perform, there's a level of execution and a fire there that you just can't find in anybody else. He's got a Michael Jordan level mentality, and I don't think anyone is going to overcome that for some time. Now, do I think that, it could be, it's going to be competition? Yeah, but is he a real problem? No. Somebody else will be, though, and he's got to watch out for that.
Yeah, what I'm interested in is this is kind of the first time that we've seen such a high-level world champion at such a young age. I mean, I think these competitors are 11 and 8. I could be off by a year or so with either one of them, but both of these are just children, and normally people aren't peaking until into their teens at least. So does that mean that the new meta is that these guys are going to start getting old soon and new 8 and 11-year-olds are going to take their place, or are they just getting into their prime? And we don't really know. We're just guessing. So I think that's going to be an interesting thing to see play out. And also this, CFOT versus ZB is going to be kind of really played out on the high level between these two. And there's going to be a lot of cubers that are going to try to figure out, do I want to emulate Yiheng? Do I want to emulate Xuanyi? And so these performances, they're going to be versing each other, but they're also going to kind of be battling for the future of methods in 3x3 as well too, because the whole generation will be looking up to one of, if not both, these cubers and emulating one of their solving styles.
What's impressed me about both Xuanyi and Yiheng, especially with Yiheng, with all the controversy he's been involved in, sliding with 2x2, the no flash controversy at Worlds. I mean, you can just pick out any one of these little bits of controversy, and he just finds a way to block the noise out.
Right.
And I don't think a lot of people understand with anything, with high-profile cubers, with collegiate professional athletes, blocking out the noise is hard. Because nowadays, everybody's on their phone. So they know what's going on. So it's really just really, really impressive to me just seeing the mental fortitude of both of these cubers who constantly are going at each other here in terms of times. And it's just so close between both of them. And again, with Yiheng being specialized in multiple different events versus Xuanyi just solely being specialized in 3x3, again, that just tells you how much of a world-class cuber Yiheng is, to be able to be that versatile in so many different events and still put up ridiculous times in 3x3. That's what's really special.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, listen, I want to give a quick shout out before we move on to the next question to sponsor the channel, Lakewood ADUs. If you're looking for a high quality or affordable ADU as a project in your area, visit lakewoodadus.com to get started. Wonderful company, wonderful people. Moving on. We're going to just talk about we're just going to talk about this show is just dedicated to Chinese cubers now because we have Qishan Cao. I implore everyone to go watch Rosie's reaction on his Instagram page. I don't know if you made that as a post or if that was just on your story. If it's a post, go watch that because I think that's how excited everyone should be. Qishan Cao, the first sub-5 for women in cubing, first sub-5 average, absolutely incredible. John, I'm going to start with you. How far is she going to go? How far is she going to take this down to?
Yeah, well, first let's look at the gap, right? So Qichen's sitting at a now 4.95 average, which is almost a second ahead of every other female solver in the world. The closest is 5.81 with Juliette Sebastian, and then a 5.84 with Yiheng. That's her full name, Yiheng. Most of the field is still 6.0 to 6.5 for the female competitors. So it's ridiculous, but I'm predicting sub 4 average, sub 3 single. Sub 3 single is very, very possible. She has the speed for it like right now. She hits a low move F2L, friendly last layer. Like she can be the first one to break that barrier. I think that a lot of it comes down to luck. Sub 4 average is harder, but I think it's still realistic due to a few factors. I mean, factor one, she's 8. That's massive coming from a guy that's staring down the barrel of 30. ZBLL and ZBLS, they're continuing to improve just like Xuanyi. Speaking of Xuanyi, she hangs out with him all the time. They're best friends, right? So 2 of the fastest rising 3x3 solvers with the same method in the same area. They're going to continue to push each other as they go on. So with that environment and the gap over the female field, I think she has a real chance to just completely rewrite the female record book for 3x3.
Yeah, I think for Qishan Xiao here, in terms of how far will she push it, I'm thinking just about a sub 4.5 second single and about a sub 4.5 second average. And I mean, if she gets a sub 3 single, that is going to be absolutely bananas. First to break the sub 3 barrier. And the thing that I love most about this is the story behind Qishan Xiao. Matt, to answer your question, yes, it is a post. Shameless plug. Go like that up on the Instagram and the Instagram page. Anywho, let's get back to the main topic, shall we? Qishan's just incredible. I mean, her story is absolutely amazing. And again, I'll just quickly highlight it here. It's her effort, I believe, is what she's going to be able to strive for, and be able to get it down to that fast of a time is her effort. When she started cubing at 3 years old, she didn't have training at the time, and she had been training with her cousin, practicing with her cousin until she was old enough to get legitimate training at 4 years old, about 2 to 3 hours at a time. And during that time, she plateaued for 3 months, couldn't get down to below sub 12 seconds, then below 10 seconds. And there was one point in there where her mom came up to her and asked her, is this a time to give up? Do you want to give up? And she said, no, not a chance. And since that, she's just hit the ground running, put her head down, put in the work, and look what it's culminated to. This is possibly one of my favorite stories that has come out of this. And it's that nonstop, no quit, that hustle from Qishan, and that effort, that nonstop effort and the willingness to get better, that's going to strive her to get such fast times and really be able to set the bar even higher for girls and women in speed cubing.
To your point, John, I wanted to kind of address something you said about, Xuanyi and Qishan hanging out all the time. I really think Qishan is just Xuanyi too. Like, I really just, when you look at their solving styles and you look at the way that they compete, like, Qishan probably will get a sub 4 average easy. Eventually, just because the way that, she's progressing, she's on a similar trajectory with Xuanyi. Give it, 2 or 3 years, maybe not even that. She's going to be there. She's going to absolutely destroy pretty much every other woman in cubing, pretty much almost anybody else in cubing besides the very, very best. And I think she's done more than enough at this point to prove that she's up there as one of the all-time greats. Just again, she's 8. Michael, you said she started training when she was 3? Do you realize how good you're gonna be at anything? If you start at 3 years old, get formal training at 4 years old, the sky is the limit with Qishan. And it's really exciting to see. I do wonder, though, just how big is the gap going to get, just specifically with the female world record? How big do you guys think that gap is going to become between her and everybody else? Because Juliette Sebastian's, almost a full second slower. I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's going to take someone young and up and coming. I mean, no No disrespect to the cubers that are female cubers that are currently up there, but I think the gap is so large that either the people that are up there are going to have to really focus on 3x3 and change their game, or it's going to be someone who's going to be inspired by her and is going to, at that young age, come out and beat her. So I think it's going to be really hard for any of the current field that we've seen to overtake her. I'm sure there's a few names that I'm overlooking in the Chinese community that are females, because I've heard from a lot of people that there's a lot more than just the top names. If we have this many of the top names coming from the Chinese community, imagine how many we haven't heard of that are percolating. So I think it's just going to be another Chinese female solver that was inspired by Xishen, but I'm excited to watch it play out. Like, female cubers are going to be taken more seriously every year because people like this and Fiona Bao are doing really cool things.
Absolutely. John took the words right out of my mouth. I mean, the gap is already so significant. Either Xishan is going to have to basically tire herself out enough in the years to where she's pushed so far, and whatever time she's at, maybe once she decides that's good, maybe she'll focus on something else. But it is going to have to take somebody to step up and try and get that down to that time. Because, I mean, a 4.95 second average is phenomenal. And it's times that it's only going to get faster and faster. The rate at which some of these kids are just solving nowadays and getting training is just insane. So it's going to take someone really, really special to be able to step up, rise to the occasion, and try to dethrone Qishan Sao. But all signs are pointing up for Qishan right now.
Very, very excited to see where that's going to go. Well, hey, listen, I want to give a quick shout out before we get into our pre-fire hot minute here. I want to give a shout out to prefire.co. Best hand warmers in the cubing game. If you go to prefire.co, use code SpeedCubingTV, you can get 20% off your order. Again, that is prefire.co. Speaking of pre-fire, speaking of heat, it is time for the pre-fire hot minute. We've been talking a lot recently about storytelling and cubing. So, John, just want to start with you. How can we better highlight cubers and their stories?
I want to shout out cubing journalism. I mean, journalism is a field that doesn't get enough credit. And I myself have tried to do this in the past. I mean, I think over a half a decade ago, I wrote an article for the Cubicle on Cubing USA Nationals and Worlds coming up in 2019. I'm no journalist. I have a business degree. And back then, I think I didn't even have a high school degree. So it'd be really cool to see real journalists come in and go do some deep dive stories.
Yeah, I mean, nothing much more I can say other than reach out. I know it is very, very difficult with a lot of these world-class cubers being overseas, some of them in other states, some of them doing school right now. But you never will know until you try. So again, those two words, reach out, talk to them, ask do they want to do a one-on-one interview. That could make for great content, because not only do you look at their solving, you got to look at their overall process, their mental fortitude, what they do to ground themselves, and just, again, humanize them. These are world-class cubers. These are also human beings. Humanize them and give them a chance to tell their story and get their name into the spotlight even more.
Yeah, I don't know if John made this question up just to get me to go make the cubing Substack. But yeah, I have 100% agree. It's cubing journalism. It's very journalism kind of stuff. Some harder research and some real kind of personal connection, I think. We kind of need more of that between cubing fans and the cubers themselves. Because I think it's something that's missing, I think. It's something in a lot of sports journalism. Obviously you want to see the players, and athletes, as what they are on the field or on the court, whatever. But you also want to see them as people, right? And I think that that's, kind of missing. If we can start highlighting, the stories beyond, the results and the techniques, I think we're going to have a real, good future as a community.
Yeah, and you'll hear Phil, and you'll hear Phil Yu from the Cubicle. You're hearing Mike Field from Speed Cubing NZ, and I'm sure you'll hear Cam Brown and all the other store owners talk about, some of the biggest moments in cubing that actually spiked sales of cubes. The Netflix documentary on Max and Felix was one of them, and that was all about stories. That wasn't about their times and their methods and this and that. That was people that were learning about Max and Felix and their journey, and that got people into the sport. And so I think that's a great example of, you know, getting fast at the sport or innovating this or that method. That'll improve the internal meta, but will it get people in the sport? Certainly not. So I think that really kind of circles some success in the past with highlighting the storytelling versus just the technical aspect.
Yeah, look, I think, what we're doing and a lot of the stuff that's been happening recently, though, I think we're on a real good path for storytelling and cubing, and we hope that we get some more great stories to come, in the coming year, since this year's winding down. I think that's just about going to cover it for today's episode of Plus Three. Michael, I understand that for the state of Michigan, it's a tough time sports wise, and I will just let you know right now, as a Michigan State alum, we will lose tonight. I would bet, I'd bet whatever vital organs you have, if you want to have 4 kidneys instead of 2, just bet on Maryland to win tonight. Anyway, not sponsored, but also want to thank you, Rosie, for coming out. Go follow Michael Rosenkrantz on Instagram. Go like that one post about Chishan. Like, comment, subscribe, Speed Cubing TV. Comment down below. How far do you think Chishan is going to take this world record? Let us know. Thanks for watching Plus 3, everybody. Hope to see you next time.